Hello friends, my name's Koolio, welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we're talking some more Pokemon Masters. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the 5 brand new sync pairs that just got added to the game. Now, all 5 of these sync pairs are completely free through the storyline, which they're not that hard to get through, so you get some pretty amazing sync pairs to add to your team. Now, 3 of them are 4 stars, and 2 of them are 5 stars. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through, we're going to talk about their stats, then we're going to talk about their moves, and specifically how to use these sync pairs in a specific team, and whether or not they are worth leveling up and using on your teams. So the first one we're going to be talking about is Viola and Masquerain, specifically Viola and Masquerain. Now this is a tech type Pokemon that is a bug type that's weak against rock. Now taking a look at the stats, the 2 notable stats that we can point out has to specifically be the defense and special defense. Now I know the special attack is higher than them, but in terms of overall defense and special defense, they're around 10th or 11th in the highest of all the Pokemon in the game. Now there is a hidden stat called bulk, which I'll be doing a video on in just a little bit, but basically that means the higher the bulk a Pokemon has, that Pokemon will be targeted first by the AI in the game. So this Pokemon has a pretty high bulk, so this Pokemon can be used as sort of a tank, but sort of as like a stalling tank to be used in the game, which I'll explain just a little bit as we go through all of these abilities. So first up is Infestation, leaves the target trapped, which is a great move to make sure that you can keep those Pokemon centered around this specific sort of style of gameplay. Now next up is Struggle Bug, which lowers the target special attack, which is a fantastic move which we are going to be using with the Just Fantastic trainer skill, which sharply raises the user's special defense while also making the user gradually heal itself. So if you are using Masquerain as a tank on your team, you're going to be wanting to use her as a special defense tank. So you're going to be dropping down some Just Fantastic on top of, after that, throwing a couple of Struggle Bugs to lower the target's special attack, making it really difficult for enemy AI to take down Masquerain. On top of that, they have an X speed, which sharply raises the user speed, which if you guys don't know, the higher the speed of your Pokemon, the faster your move gauge will fill up. So that's another thing that you're going to want to consider as throwing down Masquerain, making it so she's the main target against any kind of special attackers, throwing out the Just Fantastic to increase her special defense at the same time as throwing a couple of Struggle Bugs to lower the special attack, and then using the X speed to kind of increase the overall flow of combat. It's a really great combination, a great way to stall the enemy, allowing some of your heavier strikers or physical strikers or special attackers to get in there and take out the enemy AI. Now the passive skill is called Terrify 1, which lowers the attack of all opposing sync pairs when the Pokemon enters battle. So as soon as you throw Masquerain out there, all of the enemy Pokemon will instantly get their attack lowered, which again, on top of that, is just going to make it even harder for the enemy team to take out Masquerain. Now the final move I want to share with you is the Silver Wind Victory Shot. Now with this one, it increases the power if the target is trapped. So on top of that, if you're going up against somebody that is weak against bug type Pokemon and you're defending against their special attacks, you can use this as sort of a finishing move if the enemy Pokemon is trapped. So overall, a pretty decent kit, a little bit of offense here, but more of a focus on special defense. Makes her a fantastic Pokemon sync pair to use, especially against special attackers in like super courses or some of the EX training battles. Now the next Pokemon sync pair we're going to be talking about is Nanu and Persian. Now overall, when it comes to the stats, there isn't anything that really stands out when it comes to Persian, but it is a dark type Pokemon that is a tech roll that is weak against bug moves. Now the special thing about Persian herself is the fact that a lot of the abilities that they are going to be using kind of sets up their own sort of combination on top of that. But what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and go through and read all of the abilities first and kind of explain how this combination is going to work. So first up is the Bite. Now it has a moderate chance to make the target flinch, which is really important to this combination. Next up we got Screech, which sharply lowers the target defense. Now even though Persian doesn't have really good attack, that Screech, which sharply lowers the target's defense, can help set up a deadly combination. Next up we got XP, which sharply raises the user speed, which we just talked about that in the previous Pokemon sync pair. And then the Just Warming Up. Now it sharply raises the user's evasiveness, making it really difficult for Pokemon trainers or AI opponents to be able to even attack or land an attack on Persian, but also ensures that the next user's attack will be a critical hit. So that's a really important skill to be used in this whole combination that we're going to be talking about. Now for the passive ability, Critical Sting 1, when critical hits land, which we've got an ability that will ensure that it does, it raises the chance of making the target flinch, become confused, or become trapped with the additional effect of the attack, which basically means what you're going to want to do is drop down a just warming up ability, maybe a Screech to lower some defenses, and then throw down a Bite, which will almost guarantee that the enemy Pokemon will then flinch. Then you're going to want to finish it off with the Dark Authority Black Hole Eclipse, which its power is increased if the target is flinching. So if you're able to set up this whole combination of moves and stuff using Persian as a dark type Pokemon, you can use them to take out some pretty heavy special attackers and special defenders with the physical attack that comes from Persian, which, to be honest, I think is really, really great. So Persian, I think in my overall setup, I'm going to probably place Persian as kind of an A rank. There are some other Pokemon that have higher attack and higher special attack that can be used with less combinations to take out Pokemon, but because of the typing advantage of a Dark, and because there's not a whole lot of Dark types in the game right now, I think it's a great Pokemon if you can set up that combination effectively. Alright, so next up we have Koga and Crobat. Now I'm actually really excited because Crobat is so freaking sweet. Now his whole setup mainly revolves around his speed and his evasion to kind of set up some deadly combinations and some deadly poisoning effects onto the enemy Pokemon. Now looking at the overall stats for Crobat, it is a poison type that's weak against electricity and again is a tech type Pokemon. However, the only noticeable stat really when it comes to Crobat has to be its speed, as it is the 6th highest speed in the game. And again, the higher the speed of the Pokemon, the more opportunities you have to activate their abilities. So let's go ahead, let's go through their abilities, starting off with Poison Fang, which has a good chance of leaving the target badly poisoned, which again will come in later, very useful for some of his other abilities. Next up, we've got Venoshock. Its power is doubled if the target is poisoned or badly poisoned. Again, throwing down some Poison Fang, throwing some Venoshock, you're going to be doing some insane damage, at least 100 power damage to the enemy Pokemon. He's got XP, which raises Crobat's speed, which he's got the 6th highest in the game. Raising his speed beyond that makes him just like such a fast Pokemon, like an insanely fast Pokemon. And then again, with Move Like a Shadow, which sharply raises the user's evasiveness, as well as raises the user's critical hit rate. So you're making it so it's super hard for the enemy team to even hit Crobat. At the same time, you're raising his speed, making it so you can use as many attacks as you want over and over and over again. At the same time, you're raising his critical hit chance. Now looking at his passive skill, we have Haste, which means that his speed cannot be lowered, which again is fantastic. Everything revolves around speed with this Pokemon. But the most important thing about it, with the speed, allowing you to use as many abilities as you possibly can, as fast as you can, sets up your sync move even quicker, the Modern Ninja Sludge Bomb, which power increases if the target is poisoned or badly poisoned. So basically, all around, you're going to be throwing out speed, you're going to be throwing out critical hits, you're going to be throwing out Poison Fang. As soon as they get poisoned, drop down as many Venoshocks as you possibly can, and then just finish them off using the Modern Ninja Sludge Bomb. It is fantastic. Now, just a little bit of a warning for you guys. If you're going up against somebody that is immune to poison effects or has the ability to clear poisoning status effects, which we'll be talking about in just a little bit, Crobat isn't as effective, but anyone else that doesn't have that, Crobat's just going to be messing them up and absolutely destroying them. Okay, so next up we have Palossand, and Acerola. Now, Palossand is an interesting Pokemon because it's sort of built to be a semi-tank for your team, for the fact that it's got the ability over here, which makes makes opponents target the user for a short time and makes the user gradually heal itself. So it's great that you've got a taunting ability, but most of the time you're not going to need a Pokemon that taunts if your other Pokemon have high bulk, and Palossand doesn't really have high bulk. So it kind of negates that effect unless you specifically want to make sure. See, in the end, it doesn't really work. Let's go ahead and actually talk about some of the abilities. With Astonish, has a moderate chance of making the target flinch. Okay, that's fine. You got Sandstorm, which causes a Sandstorm, which there are moves and abilities that go along with the Sandstorm effect that you can use to set up stronger attacks. But again, it's not the most useful ability. Next, he's got X Defense, which sharply raises the user's defense. Again, if you're trying to use him as sort of a defensive move against physical attackers, this can work out very well. Now, with his passive ability, Sand Fortress, make sure that the stats cannot be lowered in a Sandstorm, which is good if you're going up against super courses where the enemy AI, after using their Sync move, will lower your Pokemon stats. So if you can get a Sandstorm off before that, it does guarantee that he doesn't get his stats lowered, so you can still use him as a physical defense Pokemon but you just got to make sure that any other Pokemon that you have on your team doesn't have a higher bulk than Palossand. So overall, he's okay. I'm going to put him down more towards the lower end, probably like a C rank. And then his final ability, the more the user's defense has been raised, the greater the power of this move, which to be honest, like, you are going to be using him as a defensive Pokemon. So why would you then want to use him as an offensive Pokemon in the end? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, specifically if you're already boosting up other special attackers and other physical attackers on your team. So Palossand isn't really the best defense Pokemon or offensive Pokemon. Again, kind of on the lower end, I'd say probably about a C minus, to be honest. Okay, so the final Pokemon that we're going to be talking about is Stoutland and Cheren. Now this Pokemon is really interesting and has one of the coolest kind of movesets I've seen in a lot of the other Pokemon in this game. Now overall, he's got incredible health, he has the 4th highest defense in the game, and he's a really bulky Pokemon. So you're going to kind of use him as a defensive Pokemon, sort of as a tank that can also clear status effects. Now remember how I talked about how Koga has the ability to poison a lot of Pokemon. However, it's not that effective if you're going up against opponents that either benefit from those status effects or are able to clear them, which Stoutland can. So let's go ahead, we're going to go through his abilities and then we'll talk about that afterwards. So his first ability is Facade. Its power is doubled when the user is poisoned, badly poisoned, paralyzed, or burned, but ignores the lowered attacks from being burned. So again, if he gets poisoned, you're just increasing the power that Stoutland has from his Facade ability. Next up, with the trainer skill, we have Apply Yourself, which increases the move gauge of all allied sync pairs by 2. So throwing that down, allowing you to use more abilities, use more attacks. But then the other side of this is it makes all allied sync pairs gradually heal themselves, which is an amazing support move to have for Stoutland, because he's going to be taking a lot of the hits, a lot of the poison effects, a lot of the condition effects, because of how bulky he is with really good defense, really good health, and then he's just going to protect his allies, allowing them to increase their moves, allowing them to attack more often, and then in the end, gradually healing them. It's really, really good. Now the other move that's really good when it comes to this one is Cheren's Full Heal. That removes all status conditions from an ally. So if you have allies or opponents that are poisoned, paralyzed, whatever, Stoutland can come in and completely remove all status conditions, basically nullifying Pokemon and sync pairs like Crobat. Now the final one is Crunch. Has a small chance of lowering the target's defense, which is good. I don't think it's overall the best move to use because it costs 3 move gauges to even activate and has a small chance of lowering the target's defense. It really isn't that great of a 3 move. Next up is his passive, which is Outrun. Quickly charges the move gauge when the Pokemon is affected by status conditions. So now we talked about speed is really important. Well, if Stoutland gets statused by anything, by poison, paralysis, all that kind of stuff, it then quickly charges up the move gauge, allowing your teammates to then go in, sweep in, and do even more damage, more abilities on top of that. And then his final ability, Fundamental Takedown. Its power increases if the user is affected by a status condition, and the power already starts at 300. Now it is a physical attack, and he doesn't have like the highest, he's like really low on the end for physical attackers. But if you are going up against an opponent that kind of takes out a lot of your other teammates, or if you're in a co-op battle with Stoutland and using him as a way to kind of help your teammates out, and he's the last one that you got to take opponent out, it is kind of nice that he's got that ability there to do some serious damage in the end if he's already being affected by status conditions. So there you guys go. Those are all of the brand new sync pairs in the game. Let me know your guys' thoughts on these sync pairs, which one you're most excited for, which one you're going to add to your team. I personally think the one I'm going to add to my team or going to start focusing on right away is probably going to be Viola and Masquerain, or Masquerain, or Koga and my boy Crobat. Well guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that you can stay up to date in the latest in Pokemon Masters. Alright friends, I'll see you next time.